Whether you're leading for the first time, leading through change, or learning to lead all over again, this space is for you. No fluff, no gimmicks, just real talk from those who've led through challenges, adapted under pressure, and thrived in the face of change. Welcome to Command to Corporate, where leadership isn't just taught, it's lived. Let's get to work. Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. How's everyone doing? Thanks for tuning in again. This is Command to Corporate. We are your hosts, LP and T. T, how you doing?
Pretty good, brother. Happy Veterans Day. Here coming
Oh
up
yeah,
here in a
coming
bit.
up. Yep, yep, that's for sure. Yeah, it'll be a
How,
good thing.
how
I've
you
been seeing
doing?
stuff on the news and all that stuff
Oh
about
yeah,
Veterans Day. So good to see it. Yeah, I'm doing fine, man.
yeah.
Just doing some stuff around the house. I was telling you earlier, started out, even though it's early, I already got the Christmas trees up, not decorated,
Yeah, bro,
but
that's
the
too early.
trees are up.
That's too
And I
early,
say
bro.
trees because there's one upstairs and one downstairs. But yeah, got them up, but not decorated. Just put them up. Got the light shining, trying to get into the spirit already. Actually, gonna have do a console because we have these big, I guess, evergreen trees in the backyard,
Mm,
and we're thinking for the first time to have them wrapped in lights and just see how that'll work out. So it's all dependent on what they want to charge. But I think regardless, we'll probably get it done. But I do want
yeah.
them to do it and leave the lights, not
Mm,
take them down. To me, it's gonna be a
okay.
pain in the butt. Like just do them, put them up, and then leave them, so we could just have it year round.
Good stuff. Listen, I haven't heard Starbucks say anything about pumpkin spice lattes yet, and that's how I know it's too early
It's
to put
getting
up a tree.
close.
It's too early to put up these nice trees. Not even Starbucks. It's not even there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was actually, you're right, because I was looking at I was at Lowe's earlier trying to look because I want to get me a new lawnmower, and one of the
Uh,
brands I've been borrowing a buddy's of mine. It's one of those
mm,
Ego electric lawnmowers. I mean,
oh
the
yeah, yeah.
thing operates like a champ. I mean, better than anything I've had before.
Hmm.
But their price point, they're not budging on that thing. No deals, no nothing. It's like you go pay. And when I went there, the guy was like, the company is pretty proud of their product. I said, as they should be. I mean, it's freaking legit. So yeah,
Okay.
if they don't want to go down, I'm cool with it. Pay for quality. I guess they're the luxury of of electric stuff, but I mean, it's good.
I
I know
do
it
not
works.
miss those days, brother.
Yeah,
When
I
you
don't
go in that
mind,
kind of
man. It's
grass.
no, it's like therapy for me, man. Getting out there, put on some
All right.
headphones, and I just put in the work, man. Doesn't matter to me.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. All right, so we'll jump into it. So today's episode is handling conflict and hard conversations. You know what? One thing I should have done. Let me check real quick. I got to check on the audio. Yeah, I think we're good. All right. I just had to make sure. So, again, handling conflict and hard conversations. So, we'll kick it off with why do leaders avoid hard conversations?
Yeah.
I think for me, I see I see it, I mean, a couple ways. I see sometimes they'll have hard conversations, but in the world of doing things virtually, they would rather
Mm,
do it virtually than in person. So
really?
they'll yeah, I've seen that more
Okay.
where
Okay.
they're willing to have those tough conversations
Mm,
um, behind the camera and then not do it in person and then even have tough conversations over the camera,
yeah.
and then when you're in person it's not the same. The energy's not there. It's dialed back quite a bit, or you don't even
Yeah.
talk about it.
Sure.
So that's one thing, but then avoiding it, I don't know. I think it just depends on the person, where they will, some people have no problem, and maybe people may look at those people as being, you know, assholes for the lack of better words, because they just go straight in. Just I'm gonna tell you like it is, and that's it.
Mm,
Whereas others, I don't know if they think it's gonna make the working relationship uncomfortable. Now I got to walk past you, and it's going to be awkward. But I think establishing things up front, like it's just business. It's just the way it is. As long as it's based off fact, policy, whatever the case may be, I'm fine with it. As soon as it's gray area stuff or hearsay and stuff, that's when it starts to get messy. But I don't know. I think that some of it's just not, don't want to be uncomfortable around the
Sure,
person. Like
absolutely.
that's it. What do you think?
Okay. You know, I sometimes think I have like ADHD, I swear to God. Because when you were talking, all I could think of, in my personal life, yeah, like sometimes like I've been guilty of like breaking up over text. I did not want to have that hard conversation.
You know, but
It's
when you say
weird.
that though, but think about that when as you're thinking, it reminds me of like the emotion that may come out of
Yeah.
it. Because I think depending on even in the work environment, when you hear people when you have a tough conversation and the next you know, they become overly emotional and they're crying or whatever the case may be, or maybe
Mm,
they get, you know, it could lead
true.
to potentially yelling or
Yes.
storming out
Yes.
of the office. And, you know, maybe
Yeah.
we need to have security. That's why I think sometimes they may you know, want to say, especially in the world of virtual, like, hey, just don't come back. You know, your
Mm.
stuff is going to
Oh,
get cut off. You're just there at home. You can't even
yeah.
get back in the building to play it safe.
That's
So it's more like
true.
playing it safe than because let me tell you, I remember
It's
this
like
company I
firing
worked
over
at.
email.
Yeah,
Sorry.
basically. Yeah. And I remember years ago, and I wasn't witness to it. I just heard about it where someone was called into the office to let go the employee, and the person got up and just punched the manager in the face.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, okay, well, if I'm going out, bam, you know, and that was it,
Going out
and
with a
then left.
felony.
Yeah, yeah, going, yeah. You know, you got to get security involved. So I can see, you know, just avoiding, but that falls in the line of a termination. But it's just like the
Mm,
just going back to hard conversations. It's just the emotion that may come out of it, and I think setting expectations and parameters around the whole working relationship up front, because I know for my uh, employees that I've had in the past, I'll say like, look, don't think that that will never happen because it could happen. But just remember, it's business. If I'm citing, here's the violation, whatever the case may be, and that's it. You
hmm.
know, and we move on from it. We go, and I've had to in the past write up people where they get attitudes, they don't want to speak to me, and it's like, look,
Mm,
I'm going straight by the book.
yeah.
Did you violate this? Did you break this rule? Yes. What were you written up for? Exactly that. Yes. But then, and I go out engaging them just as normal because it's business. You can't take it personal, but too
Yeah.
many people do. And I think that's why it leads to, I just want to avoid it, period.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. Like I actually personally, there's two different personalities in me. I guess there's my personal life and there's like my work professional life. And I honestly don't have a problem having those tough conversations in my professional life. I don't know why, but I feel like I always come with the facts. I come with, assistance, regardless of whether I'm giving you a punishment or I'm helping you, whatever it is. I'm always there to help you regardless. I could be very mad at you for what you did, but like, hey, we're going to address it, move on, and I'm still going to be there for you and help you out. So,
Hmm.
yeah, but some people can't. They just naturally do not like conflict. And I've seen a lot of people that way that just do not like it. And so they'll avoid it. The
Yeah.
problem is just people will see that around you and you're like, oh, yeah, does not like conflict. So they'll
Oh,
push
yeah.
that button and they'll
Oh,
know how to
yeah.
use it, you know?
Yeah. And that's and that leads us to the next one. What's the risk of delaying conflict resolution? Well, if it's a leader that there's conflict within a team and they're delaying having that that conversation, well, it's just festering and it's just starting to,
Mm,
it's like a pot boiling,
oh,
you
yeah.
know, of pasta, and you're just waiting for it to start spilling over. Now it's hitting the flames, everything's flying all over the place. And then it's like you've let it get too far versus just stepping in and nipping it in the bud immediately.
Yeah. And have you ever let those thoughts in your head just kind of like simmer and percolate and boil, and now it's like gets worse and worse, and in your brain something small all of a sudden becomes like huge, and then
Mm-hmm.
like the first moment you step, in front of that person, it kind of explodes. You kind of may lose your professionalism or something like that. So that's why delaying anything is just really not a great rule to go by.
Yeah. And I think for those leaders that do avoid it, like you say, if people see that, they'll exploit it
Oh
because
yeah,
they know they can push, 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 and you're basically not going to do anything about it until you finally do. But, look how much, how much more toxic an environment has become, or look how much more the person is taking advantage, or things like that before you just say enough's enough. And it's like, just cut it off in the very beginning. So,
yeah. But I add one more little thing.
mhm,
Sometimes there's a good reason to delay it, right? I know maybe I would want to delay a little bit because,
mhm,
like, I know myself. Like, maybe the first thing I want to say is not the best thing to say. And so, like, I need a minute to reflect on the facts and no feelings because
that's
the first
true.
thing you're gonna get is feelings, and
Yeah,
that'll get you fired pretty quick. But
yeah.
sometimes we're like, all right, I need a minute, think about it, process it. Okay, I get it. I'm gonna take the emotion out of it, and like now I understand, and I go back and address it, and it's a lot more productive conversation.
Now, in the civilian sector, yes, the military, you may just let that thing fly. Because it's
Hey,
just like, in some situations, you just like, what the
yeah,
F is going, get your blah, blah, blah. It's just going off because, you know, who you going to complain to? Which HR
yeah,
you going to?
and this is why a relationship will help you in that way,
Yeah.
because you tried that in a relationship. Yeah, no, you're gonna get some pushback.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. So then, how do you prepare for a tough performance conversation?
Yeah.
Um, and I, I have some thought. What do you think? How do you prepare for a tough performance conversation?
I really want to get all the facts, as many facts as possible, right? I don't want to go
Hmm.
in there half cocked and somebody tells you like, no, that's not what happened. You don't even know what you're talking about. That's the worst feeling. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I want to get all my facts. Like a lot of times, like I may just write them down. One, it
Yeah.
helps me to focus, and when I write it down, it brings out the facts. Okay, I see where this is coming from, or whatever. I have maybe a little bit more open mindedness about it. But I
Hmm.
feel like it's always has to be. Let me get the facts straight. Let me start with the facts, and then see if we could find a middle ground. You know, what are your
Yeah, I
thoughts?
think to your point is, yeah, definitely have the facts. I don't think anyone should be blindsided by
Mm,
a tough performance conversation if it's, if someone's not meeting expectations or they're not missing the mark. Because if I'm tracking, things that are KPIs, how you're contributing to this. I write clear goals that you agree upon. When we finally get and we're having the progressive conversations, how you are. I'm not going to say you're hitting it and then all the way at the end of the year, I'm like, oh yeah, you didn't make it. And at no point in a one-to-one or quarterly reviews did I ever share anything with you. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you, like, you are not making the mark. You're missing it here. Here's what we need to do. We need to see some change. If we hit it again, like, you're not making it, and maybe some kind of corrective action. But if you're just flat out missing the mark, it's like, well, you didn't. And I should be able to ask you the question, well, did you do that? And they'll say, well, no, I didn't. Okay. Because you're answering the question for yourself. Because I give you an example, what not a performance per se conversation. I remember in the military having soldiers say, "Hey," I remember this one soldier saying, "Hey, Sergeant Perry, when are you gonna recommend me for the promotion board?" And I say, "Promotion board, okay." I said, "Are you doing any continuing education?" No, nothing. No class, no correspondence, nothing. Are you doing anything, to better yourself? Blah blah. Nothing. No. Um, improving any weapon quality, anything like that? No. How about improving your PT? You trying to do anything like? No. I said, okay. Let's start with the first question. Am I recommending you for a promotion board? And he answered, no. I said, you're right. No.
That's good.
Because you just answered it yourself. I'm not recommending you when you're not doing anything to help yourself.
That's very true. You know, the other thing is like when you have a high performer that is like all of a sudden like they're not hitting it, you know, and I those are really kind of the easy ones in my mind because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, hey Larry, I see you're always killing it, you're always meeting your goals, targets, but like I've noticed recently you didn't hit it last month. You know, is everything okay? Is everything all right at home? There's something that changed. You know, what's going on? You know, and
Yeah.
I think that has opened up so many doors for me when I have that conversation in that way. It's like, hey, you're normally killing it, but something is off this time. Like what's going on, you know? And I think it gives an opportunity for that other person to like vent and get stuff off their chest, or like really there's something that's really bothering them, and now they have the opportunity to just get it out there. You know, it may be not him, it may be me. You know, who knows? Like I may have caused, you know, the other person to miss their targets. You know, whatever it is.
And I
So
think being it's a great approach and being people oriented helps with that. And also transparency where people know that they can be open and talk to you
true.
so that if you do ask the question, they're like, okay, because you do have some that are not of the mind to even ask, is
Yeah.
everything okay? They will
Yeah.
just, because going back to avoiding the hard conversations, I really am not a people person. I really don't care what's going on in your life. You didn't make it. Here's what it is. You need to do better. Please head on out the door. Not really thinking about there could be more to this. What can we, I'm here for you. They don't even want you to give them feedback. That's like, I don't want to, nope, don't tell me anything. Just get to work. And it's just not going to lead to anything good because then
Mm,
employees say, well, you don't really care about me. You don't care about my well-being, and I'm gonna start looking elsewhere. I don't feel valued.
yeah.
So
No, you're right. The most humbling feeling is when it's actually like, in my case, if it was like my fault, you know,
yeah, yeah,
that is the most humbling feeling. Um, and I've been sometimes guilty of that because like my email, like in past jobs, used to blow up, man. Like I just couldn't get
yeah.
through my emails every day, and you know,
Hmm.
there's emails that like get buried, and which I should have forwarded to my team, and I didn't, you know, and so that was a cause of an issue.
Yeah,
And that happened a couple of times where they're like, you know, you know, they're like, it's not our fault, you know, and
yeah,
so it's humbling, but yeah. So sometimes asking that open-ended question helps because it's, you know, they're like, you know, in a nice way, they're gonna tell you, yeah, it's your fault, you know, but it's fine, it's
yeah,
okay, that's good.
yeah, yeah. Own it, own it. And then next one, how do you separate facts from emotions during conflict? And I think, as you said it, taking that pause, really collecting yourself so you don't react out of emotion, as you
Yeah.
said. And so, for those that are, listening, again, those young leaders, maybe middlemen, even people that have been doing this, how do you pull yourself away and sit there? Because I've been the recipient of someone's emotion where I wasn't there. I'm a part of a project team, but people weren't clear on my responsibilities. Everything I did was done. Something happened where
Oh,
everyone blamed me. So the
yeah.
boss at the time is like, okay, he was clearly wrong, comes to
Mm.
me, virtual, and says, okay, you're going to be written up. And it was based on not on and part of the conversation was I operate off of facts. And I'm like, okay, but then nothing that you're saying is facts. And I'm like, wait a minute,
Mm.
what have I done or didn't do to warrant this conversation? Couldn't answer it. and you're going off of
Mm.
hearsay, even brought in an HR person, and I'm like, okay, here are the facts. And I start to rattle them off. And then it's like, okay, well, why don't you go ahead and put together your facts? I put together 3 pages of timeline and facts. Then in person, the conversation was like, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I know you did everything you. So I went back to them and I talked to them and everything is good.
Oh, it's
It's
them
like
now.
it's them now. First, it was me until
Ah.
I hit you with structured timeline facts.
Ah.
Again, pointing out responsibilities,
Yeah.
pointing out ownership, all of this stuff. And then it was just like, now it's them, not me. But that's what you should have done in the very beginning is saying, can we get some facts? Walk me through this. But it was
Yeah.
led with
Exactly.
emotion because your
Yes.
butt was hurt in a meeting
Yes.
versus saying, hey, this is what came out of it. Help me to understand. Can you put
Yes.
together some details? That way I can have a more informed decision. But because someone
Yes.
went off on you, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go off, get after him. And it's like, come on. And it was crazy because it was a virtual meeting 30 minutes before the person had to get on catch a Uber to go catch a flight. So it was going to be like in and out really quick. And I'm like, nah,
Wow.
slow it
Yeah.
down.
That sounds like a humbling experience for somebody.
If they looked at it that way, because then at the same time, if someone were to come with me and I did react that way, I would have come back and said, you know what, let me my bad. I apologize. I came in there hot and heavy. I didn't have all the details. You are right. You know,
That's
please
hard
accept
for
my
people.
yeah, but I mean I'm not going first of all, I wouldn't do that to begin with. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't be in that situation. But I would at least come back and say something,
Yep.
but not to just ignore it and just move past. Especially
Yeah.
when you said you come with facts and you didn't. It just makes you look bad. All you just you're heading down the bad credit, path. Oh my
Man,
gosh.
that's
So
wild.
how do you
Okay.
give feedback that's firm but respectful?
Firm and respectful. I feel like all feedback
Firm but
should be.
respectful.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean, but where you can, and to me, I guess it could be firm, but I don't know. To me, firm, I think I look at it as more if I can give direct feedback, like just cut to the chase. Like, hey, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. Like, I'm gonna just again facts. So to me, that firm part still goes with what you're saying is let me get the facts straight,
mm,
because it can just be firm. I guess people might say stern, like I'm coming off kind of hard a little bit, but still
mm.
respectful. I think as long as you're not yelling and you do stick to the facts, you're not raising your voice, but you know, that's it. Like I'm just lay it out there for you. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like, I honestly never have an issue giving feedback or even giving punishment, to be honest with you. Um,
No.
I've always kind of, in having initial discussions with a person, I lay it out. Like, I lay out the rules. I really do.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, if you do this, it's going to be automatic that. It's just like I set the expectations from day one, and
Yes.
I just kind of be consistent with that.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I'm not going to be a jerk about it as well. Like, it goes back to
No.
like I was saying earlier. Listen, you messed up. Cool. Let's deal with it. Get past it. I'm not gonna just treat you any different. I'm still gonna help you out.
No.
I'm still gonna help you through the
Exactly.
process.
Yeah.
And that's it. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold grudges. Um, Now, if it becomes a consistent, if it's a pattern thing, then that's a whole nother story. Then I was like, okay, well, this is a pattern that's not really in line with what we do. And then maybe this is not the right environment for that person. You know.
Yeah. And I think, a point you said is not going to hold grudges. In one of our earlier episodes, for those listening and viewing, we talked about professional maturity and leadership maturity. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's key in everything is everyone remembering to be professionals and leaders actually having that maturity where let's say someone gave me feedback and said, "Well, I don't like the way you did this. I don't like the way you handled that." Maybe they get worked up. I'm gonna calm them down. Okay, wait, calm down, calm down. I hear you. I hear you. Let's get it down. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great. I hear what you're saying. Maybe we come back to it. Maybe I address it right there. But one thing I'm not going to do is hold a grudge. That one I'm not going to do. Now, if you know, throw me out there, as they say, what was the term? I forget the term, but you basically putting you out there to get, that you get some kind of negative, put you in a negative light.
Mm.
And I still would not hold a grudge, but I am going to, just take the appropriate administrative actions if it warrants any. But that's what I'm not going to do is like, oh, you're on my shit list, so to speak now. So now I'm not going to show you any kind of attention. I'm not going to talk to you because you're still the
Yeah.
leader. So to take that stance is ridiculous. Like you have to have maturity. And so if you can't do that and you can't separate yourself from the situation, people say, well, I'm only human, but you're in the leadership role. You have to set the standard, have expectations, everything you want it to be. And you have to be epitomize that role. And if you can't, then maybe you're not ready for the role. So as people are looking to step into leadership roles, just remember, can I do that? Can I separate myself out where I don't have favorites? I'm not going to hold a grudge against someone because they said something or heard something about me. I give you two examples. I have had an employee that said, who I thought could easily be a good supervisor. I'm like, the things when you're facilitating work with people, you could easily do that. And she said at the time, no, I can't because I will have favorites. I will have favorites. I will do that because people I get along with, I will. And those that I won't, they're on my shit list. That's it. I know it. So I don't even want to be in the situation to be in charge of people because I know what happened. And I'm like, so you would be okay with another team member getting promoted over you and you reporting to another teammate, to one of your peers? I would be fine with that because I think we have a good team. Okay, fair and honest. Okay, no
Bro, that's
problem.
mature. That's
Yeah,
professional maturity.
yeah, yeah.
That's
And
insane.
then I remember even me being in another situation where I knew someone, a peer was talking about my behind my back, and this happened multiple times, going to managers saying things, when I know that I'm doing everything right, excelling, all that stuff.
Mhm.
I still talk to the people every day. I didn't treat them any different, knew it was happening. It's like, why am I going to be that way? Because in the end, when things flipped and they got booted and got shunned, so to speak, then they come back apologizing, which I never changed anything. But I'm like, it's not going to serve any purpose. You should be able to ride on your own steam without having to put anyone down. If you have to do that, then you need to look inward and look at how you can improve as an individual. I'm off on a tangent, I think. Let me come back. Get off this soapbox. Okay.
No, I like it. Grudges is holding grudges is so bad. It's really really bad. And so I was as a child, I was raised by a stepmom, and then
Mhm.
eventually I lived with my mom, right? And I saw the difference between somebody that holds grudges and somebody that does not, right? The person that
Mm.
holds grudges, yeah, I was constantly like wondering, what is she thinking? Does she hate me? She still,
Mm.
she's still like thinking ways to get back at me or whatever, like I didn't behave myself, it wasn't me
Yeah.
around her anymore. It was always like negative. It was always like scared. And then the mom that really didn't hold any grudges, like it was amazing.
Yeah.
Like she would chew my ass out, like God, it's horrible, but literally next day it's all good. Like nothing happened, you know?
Yeah.
And that is such an amazing feeling when like you don't have to be, on your walking on eggshells around somebody that's over you. You don't have no control. And so then it allowed me just to be myself quicker and allowed me to be myself more often, and that helped me thrive, you know. And I wasn't a problem child anymore. So anyway,
And to me, that all of that would apply in the civilian sector
yeah,
in an office, because imagine you something happened, you have that maybe the boss thinks that you let them down because you missed a deadline, a project, whatever the case may be,
hmm,
and okay, you get your lashings, your write up, whatever. But now, if they're that type that potentially holds a grudge, don't talk to me, they're not addressing you, they don't ask you for feedback, it's
oh
just you
man,
push to the side.
yeah,
How is that, you know, for the working relation with the person, but then when other people see that, because they're like, dang, I better not do anything or I'm going to be like you.
that's
And then
true.
it's like, how long is that going to last?
Yep.
Now you're thinking, if I do anything wrong, they're probably going to
Hmm.
fire me. But it's just going to make for a pretty tense environment, not just for the individual, but for the other
Yep.
teammates, versus someone that can say, hey, let's have this tough conversation. It's over with. You sign, you move on, come in. Hey, I brought donuts. Make sure you get one, the next day, or something very lighthearted.
Hmm.
Hey, what's your feedback? Great point. They keep it going. And then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I don't feel this weight on me.
Hmm.
And you probably will rise up and say, you know what, I'm not going to let this person down because
Yes.
they're really, really good person. I'm going to do
Yes.
better.
Exactly. Yeah, and otherwise people will just leave. They're like, no, I
Yeah.
can't take this. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
All that stress. It's like, when, I always say, at home in your personal life, you got plenty of stress and stuff going on. And I mean, vice versa. There's plenty of stress at work. When you come home, you don't want to have to deal with that at home. In the same way, if you got stress at home, you don't want to have to go to work. It's just tense all over. It's like, you need some kind of peace. You know what I mean?
True.
So how do you mediate between two team members in conflict? And I know I've had to do that over the years plenty of times. And to me, it's just bring them both in. Bring them
Really?
both in. Yes.
Okay.
I do not talk to people as individuals. I mean, they may
Really?
bring up their points. Hell no. You know why? Because I've seen so many times where, now I might have them individually give me information, but then when I'm
Yeah.
settling the dispute, they are both in front of me. I'm going to talk to them both together and I'm going to address it so that when they leave, it's like, okay, we're good.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
both
Okay.
walk out the door,
Okay.
because I don't want it to be where the person that screams the loudest, like, I want them both to
Hmm.
say, what did you say to this person? What did you say? Well, I meant this. Okay, so there's a breakdown in communication. You weren't clear. You misunderstood.
Hmm.
You shouldn't have done this. Our policy says this. You both need to be this. Are we clear? I don't want to have this conversation again. We good? Okay. And you both leave.
That's
Because I want them to settle it and be done with it. And I've seen success. I mean, I don't think
yeah.
I have not seen success when they both
Yeah. Yeah.
can be together. But when it's like, well, she said this and this and this, and then they leave. Well, he said this or she said this and this, and then I have to make a decision based on one or the other. Come together and let's just talk this out. That's my approach. I want to talk it out with both of them.
Okay. So I think mine is just a bit longer of a process, but I think it's pretty much the same.
Mm,
Um, when I know there's a conflict, I want to bring that each individual person sit down, take notes, get their perspective, right? And get to the other person, get their perspective. But also in between, like I like to get a third party,
mm,
as well. Like so I'll go out on the floor and say, hey, what's going on? Like in just casual conversation. Have you seen this? Whatever. Have you seen Sean Perry do this or do that or whatever it is?
yeah.
And it's that usually gives me it filters out the lies a little bit.
Oh, yeah, like in witness statements.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, but like one on one also kind of helps people take the guard down. They're not in front of this threat that's next to them anymore. In my eyes, I
Yeah.
think. And so, like, when they sit down with me one on one, they could be themselves. They could kind of like not have an emotional reaction because they're next to that person. And they try to stick with more facts in that way. That's what I've noticed. Although I like your approach too, because I could see how both people are going to tell facts in front of the boss, you know.
Yeah,
So I get that as well.
yeah.
But I personally like to do it one on one, and
But
then
I
give
would
them
add
to.
though, but I would though, in your approach though,
Mm,
that would be different. Now, if it's like work tension, just I would say more basic stuff where I
mm,
can call them both in, more like on the floor, a performance type thing, working. Now, if it becomes like harassment, now that's different because now
mm.
it's like, no, I will do it. And you may still ask people, but now you want witness statements and all of this stuff.
Oh,
And you would still
yeah,
probably, but I think that would, because then depending on who the victim is, they're not going to want that person in the room. You know what I'm saying? So that
oh,
would be totally
true.
different. That would
Okay,
probably be involving HR. So I would separate out HR related, I need to get them involved
yeah,
to just business as usual conflict. So let me clarify that. If it's business as usual stuff,
yeah,
bring them both in. If it's something that's completely HR related, no, they're going to get involved and do their investigation appropriately.
yeah. No, that's good. That's a good differentiator. But yeah, it's usually like, you know, somebody's claiming to do something but they're not, or somebody says, you know, they're not doing it. So it's usually around that. So yeah, it's nothing, I guess, too major. But once I gather my facts and get both sides, I bring them back in, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so here's kind of what I've heard from all of you and what I've
Yeah.
seen on the floor or whatever,
Mm.
and this is what's going on. All right, so how are we going to solve this? And I try to get them to start talking about it and come up with their own solution to that
Yeah.
conflict. So that way they're bought in on
Yes.
the solution and the outcome.
Very good. Yeah, very good approach because the more people can define and name what they're going to do, the more likely they will do it versus
Mm-hmm.
being told what to do. And I think that's, what, the more you can get them involved, the better in
Yeah.
driving a solution. So definitely agree with that. So, how do cultural differences affect how people handle conflict? And I think, I mean, it can be huge because it just depends on the culture,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to maybe how long you may have been in any cultural environment, whether it's in America, whether it's in a different country, your approach could be totally different. Where some might be very, very direct, kind of taking you off guard, and whereas others may be more softer approach into it. So I think it plays a huge, you know, makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. It makes me think of, so obviously I'm half Arab, right? And
Mhm.
I guess for those that didn't know, I'm half Arab. And
People are probably like,
so
"What? No, no, you're not."
it's true. If I don't say my name, yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
true,
basically
true.
Hispanic, yeah. Which I'm half Hispanic too, so it's okay. But the Middle Eastern culture and
Hold on,
is
wait, wait. Before you finish, do you speak
yeah.
both Arabic and Spanish?
I equally suck at both, so
Oh, okay. As long as it's equal, we can't complain about that.
I mean, maybe enough to order a sandwich and find a bathroom in each, in each region. But yeah, that's the limit.
Okay.
You know, it's
All
very
right.
low.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Keep it going, man. Sorry.
So the Middle Eastern culture, for some reason, like doesn't like to say no to a person. You know, and it's always the person says no without saying no if they say inshallah or God
Oh
willing.
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know. Inshallah, I
that
used
is
to hear that in Saudi Arabia all the time,
that
and
is
I used to be
code
like,
for.
"No, inshallah, get to work."
It's so true, man. And it's like, but deep inside, they know, like, yeah, hell no,
Yeah.
Asian culture is also another. Like, I think of Japan, where it's just like super polite, and they do not want conflict, you know. Now, I personally don't understand that because I face conflict, and so I want to get the situation out and open. But like some people do not want conflict in their life, and they're super respectful and whatnot. I just don't know what they do with that emotional buildup. You know, like to me, if I have an issue with somebody, I need to vent it and get it out. But
Yeah.
so I don't know. Some people just don't.
Yeah, so I've experienced both examples that you gave with the inshallah in Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia, literally being like, "Hey, are you gonna go help that customer?" Inshallah. What does that mean? Get to go help them. What do you mean, inshallah? Like, I'm like, how is that
Uh,
a thing? How is that a
it's true, man.
response?
Yeah.
And then even in like going to Thailand, I mean, super polite people. I
Hmm.
don't, even seeing people get agitated and they're just still just super polite, very even. It's like, and I don't know, unless you probably like try to lay hands on them or something, it's like they're going to maintain it, and if it's, and maybe it's just part of the culture. Going back to, the cultures, the cultural differences, it's just like you're not going to see it. But then in the actual work environment in the corporate space, how does that work? When the
Mm.
workers are polite, the boss is polite, or is it an expectation that
Ah.
everyone will just work? Like I saw this one thing, old colleague shared, former colleague
Yeah.
share with me about like in, I don't know if it's Japan or I want to say it's Japan, where it's like if they want to push you out, they don't fire you, but they just keep moving your desk further and further away. And next thing you know, you're in the basement, to where you're like you don't want to be there anymore, but they're not going to fire you. They're just going to make it very uncomfortable for you.
That's the plot to Office Space.
Yeah, I know. A real life thing.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. So what's the role of empathy in difficult conversations? And I think you hit on that earlier, like especially when you have a high performer, and let's just say a consistent performer, and then you just see
Mm.
something that's changed and they're off, and to ask, I notice this is something's not right, you know, tell me what's going on, anything, that I can do, anything you want to share, like, do you need time off, whatever the case may be, but at least engaging and asking questions.
Yeah. I also think people want to be heard,
Mm,
and having some empathy is one way to confirm that like I hear you on this. I see I see why you might be angry about this or whatever. And I think people want to vent, people want to be heard, and if once you confirm that they're being heard, and then you say, "I understand," your frustration, is way better than like, "I don't even know why you're mad at this. It's no big deal,"
yeah,
you know. But you say, "Okay, I see why you're frustrated with this, and I get it. Like you're very passionate about it, and
yeah,
maybe if I was as passionate, I would be just as angry.
yeah,
Um, and so it just like helps put the guard down, for people to, they're give them a little bit more space to talk. You're like, oh, okay, I don't have to be on offensive with this guy because he understands me a little bit, so
yeah.
they could take it down a notch after that.
And I think to that point, and for those listening, setting that expectation from the beginning that your people can talk to you. So that way
Mm,
they know if you do ask the question, they can be open and respond. Because if you don't set that, that's not something you've ever done, and then you finally do it, they may not be, they may, especially if you're wanting to hold a grudge or this or that, and then you
mm-hmm,
finally flip a switch and want to ask the question, they might be like, no, I'm good. No, it's personal. They kind of give you a cold response. I don't want to talk to you, but yet clearly there's something going on. And if you're like, well, you could take some time off. No, I'm good. Cause then it's like, oh, you're trying to get me. You want me out of here, because you haven't been transparent and open and
mm,
allowed them to speak freely,
mm-hmm,
respectfully, but freely. You have not allowed it. So, really look to set that expectation, those boundaries in the very beginning as you're taking on a team. Let them know that it is a safe space. That
yeah,
doesn't mean that, some kind of reprimand won't happen. It doesn't mean that you won't ever have a firm conversation, but at the same time that you are there for them. You got the team's back, and just laying it all out front, as you said before, that you set it off, set the expectations and everything at the very beginning. I think that's what people need to know. And when you're having routine meetings, one-to-ones, you continuously practice that, so that way they know that when you do finally come and there's a situation, they can be free and open.
Sure. Good. Yeah. Open communication is always you can't go wrong with that. Honestly, transparency, open communication. It's really the answer to everything, isn't it? God.
If we
But
could
we're
just all do it a whole lot more, right?
yeah, you would think it would be something so simple, right? But it's
Yeah.
not, and I'm being guilty of it as well. I talk about
Oh
it,
yeah.
but yeah, I've been guilty. But it's more in
Oh,
my personal life, I guess.
I would say so too. Like on the personal front, following in the, it's like at times in the work environment, it could be easier
Hmm.
than dealing it in your personal life,
Yeah.
because, and at work, you would hope that emotions would not be there,
Hmm.
flaring up and things. Whereas in your personal life, it's like no holds barred, like anything
Yeah.
could go. And it's like, man, I really want to deal with this. It becomes tough. But,
Yeah.
I guess it's practicing across all fronts. So, final question: how do you follow up after conflict has been addressed? And I want to piggyback that also on, like, tying in what the military does when it comes to conflict resolution. And the
Hmm.
reason so is, like, when I look at, for example, DA Form 4856, counseling
Oh.
form, I'll never forget it.
I was like, wait a minute, what? I was like, oh yeah,
Oh
it's a
man,
big
yeah.
one.
So at least the last one I used, you'll write down, the facts, what happened. You write down, what are we
That's
going to
right.
do about it? There's a commitment. What are we going
Yep.
to do to change? When are we going to follow up? You sign it, you both
Yeah.
agree. So it's a structured way to then follow up after the fact and say, okay, we will reconvene on this date. We'll check on how things have progressed, how we're doing. So it makes it a little bit easier in that we've written it down, so that we both have agreed to it, to, like, follow up and take this path forward. Whereas, if people get, and you could still do it in the civilian sector, but it's just, those forms, I don't know, those counseling forms to me, kind of lended from the military, a good way to follow up. You can
Hmm.
still do it in the civilian sector, um, and you would want to. So if you're going to, do a verbal or written warning, there should be a part where you're like, hey, we're going to follow up, or I'll do periodic review, and we'll see
Hmm.
how things are going, see how you're progressing, things like that. And then just sticking to those commitments of checking in and hoping that the person is getting on the right course, right path.
Help me out here. I'm forgetting. Does that form have blocks in the back of it where you could follow up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it
that's
does
really
have.
convenient. So the form itself
Yes.
says, we're going to meet
Yeah.
next on this date, and here are
Yeah.
your
Like it's an
space.
action. It'll say, I think it says action plan. And then you
Yeah.
can put in your action plan and you both commit to it and things like that. Now people may say, no, that's not, or maybe I'm not remembering right, but that's what I'm thinking, that that's the way it was.
Yeah. Let us know because I forgot.
And I got out way earlier than T, and he's like, I don't remember anything.
Man, it's a blessing and a curse. I have a short memory like mine. Holy crap.
But I think the biggest thing is, do follow up,
Yeah.
because whatever the plan is, you want to follow up to ensure that, people are on track. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to blindside people.
Hmm.
So, once you've addressed it, I mean, you want to address it, you want to follow up, make sure that things aren't festering. Make
Hmm.
things, as we said, the pot's boiling. Like, you want to make sure you've de-escalated the situation. We're back to normal as much as can be, things like that.
Yeah. This is something I go back to what I said earlier. I go out to the floor and ask others around. What do they see? What do you hear? And then I go back to them. With armed with some information and facts, and and ask and say, hey, what's going on? You guys good? And I already know the answer. So I'm just waiting for them to kind of either confirm or deny.
Yeah. And I would ask that, like our listeners, our viewers, what are your thoughts on it? How have you handled conflict and dealt with either having a hard conversation or been the recipient of that hard conversation? What has been your reaction to that?
Hmm.
How was the follow up? Was there a follow up? And then also, when we first started talking, like, have you seen it where it has not been addressed? What has been the
Mm.
consequence of that not happening? If you can share high level, of course, we don't want companies, but what's happened? It'd be really interesting to hear from our listeners what their take is on it as well. And then if we've missed the mark completely, please drop a
Sure.
note, drop those comments and say, you know what, guys, I think that this would have been, your example missed the mark. Maybe you should have considered this, because those comments, when we do see them, we do want to be able to provide feedback and be able to talk about those comments as well.
True.
All
Thick
right.
skin here, man. So we're
What
good.
else, T?
No, I'm just saying thick
Yes,
skin. Like,
very. Oh yeah, very thick skin. Yeah, no, you won't have us up here like, oh my gosh. No, no, it's not
yeah,
gonna
no.
happen. Man, let me tell you a story real quick. I
Uh,
remember I was on a workout app. Back in the day, I used to go to the gym and I was using that app, and I asked a question about power lifters. And this one power lifter just was real heavy in the midsection, super strong, but really heavy in the
mm,
midsection. All I asked, I put in the comments, is why aren't power lifters trim? Like, what is the reason behind like super strong, but also this huge gut?
that's a legit question.
I thought it was a fair question, and I really
Yeah.
wanted to know. Man, I got trolled so bad. I mean, they were just dogging me out. Little did they know I have ultra thick skin. So I was like, keep it coming, tell me more. This is helpful. But because I came off in a polite way, it almost made some people just even more angry because I'm asking a legit question and y'all are just
That's
going in on me. I just want to know why not. Like, I just
yeah.
thought it was a fair ask. And it was like, you don't ask these questions. And I'm like,
What?
why not? Yeah, people were super mad. And it actually
Wow.
rated your like popularity. So in the app, you could either have a very positive rating, which mine was in the beginning, and then it just tanked and went super red. And I was just like, just because of their responses, not because of my question, because of their responses, it drove me into the red, which was
Wow.
crazy. Very
That is crazy.
people, their responses really drove your rating. And I was just like, this is crazy. But
I mean, I used to be a power lifter in college, and I still think that's a legit question. Because I mean, looking at people in competed with in college, they were pretty trim. No, they
yeah,
weren't bodybuilders, but yeah, they were not like huge midsections. But like the strongest man in the world has probably a big midsection. That's a
yeah,
good question. I have no idea. So did
yeah. I
anybody give
just
you an
didn't
answer?
know. No, no answer. No answer. Just troll me to death. Just troll me to death. That's it.
All right. If anybody knows, let us know then.
Yeah, but don't troll me. Just answer it. That's all I want. Just answer it. I don't mean any harm. It was just an example. It was years ago. Don't hate me. I thought it was a legit question. Apparently it was not. All right. Well,
I
that
love
is
it.
it for today. Thanks for tuning in to Command to Corporate. If today's episode gave you value, do us a favor as always, share with a colleague or teammate who's ready to step into leadership. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and connect with us on YouTube where you'll be able to see our smiling faces, Spotify, Apple Podcasts for more leadership insights and resources. And until next time, lead with clarity, lead with a purpose, and always remember mission first, people always. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.